You and I have been never taught how money really works. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You have been misled your entire life about money. One of the largest wealth transfers in human history is happening. And most people don't even see it. It's happening in plain sight. They're working harder, saving more, doing everything right. Yet somehow, life is getting more expensive. If you have ever felt stuck on a financial hamster wheel, that you're working more, you're saving more, but you're still falling behind anyway, this episode is for you. It's happening every day. The tax that you don't see, the invisible tax. There is a tax that hits you every single day, every single month, every year. You never vote on it. You never see a bill for it. They call it inflation. I call it theft. Now, our grandparents could buy a coffee for a pocket change. Today, that same coffee costs several dollars. And they call this normal. It's not. Since the early 70s, specifically post-1971, traditional currencies, especially the US dollar, has lost most of their purchasing power, over 95%. Right? Australian currency has lost over 50% in the last 5 years. What does that mean? Housing costs exploded. Education become unaffordable. Healthcare, childcare, food, everything goes up. But your wages don't go up with the same speed. Right? So what happens? More money gets created, prices rise, your savings lose value, and you're forced to work more just to stay in place. This is not an accident. This is exactly how the system was designed. This is exactly how the system works. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stack and Strength. I'm your host, John, and today we will talk why Bitcoin could be your great escape. Imagine a world where your money couldn't be quietly stolen from you. A world where your savings actually saved their value. You do not lose the purchasing power of your hard-earned dollars over the years, where your hard work does not slowly disappear year after year. A place where you did not need permission from a bank to move or store what you earned, something that was permissionless. That world does exist. It's called Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't just another investment. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a completely different way of thinking about money. For the first time in human history, we have money that is scarce, that is limited by math. Only 21 million will ever exist. Something that is global. You don't need any banks. It is borderless. You can transfer across borders. It is censorship resistant. That is, no one can freeze or block it. It is hard to seize if you store it properly, that is. Digital by design, so it's built for a connected world. Think of Bitcoin like the internet for money. The internet removed all the middlemen from communication. Bitcoin does the same. It removes all the middlemen from value. So there's no banks that is going to take your fees. There's no governments that's going to print your savings away, erode your savings away. No waiting days for transfers, and most importantly, no asking permission to use your own money. But you know what? You and I have been never taught how money really works. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You were not lied once. You were not lied twice. You have been misled your entire life about money. Right now, while we see this video or you listen to me, one of the largest wealth transfers in human history is happening. And most people don't even see it. It's happening in plain sight. They're working harder, saving more, doing everything right. Yet somehow, life is getting more expensive. Now, I understand, because if you have ever felt, like I used to feel this many years ago, but if you have ever felt stuck on a financial hamster wheel, that you're working more, you're saving more, but you're still falling behind anyway, this episode is for you. Because the system that you were actually taught to trust, taught to believe, was never designed to make you wealthy. Let's rewind. Let's go back in time. You're young, you're just out of college, you want to build a future, and everyone gives you the same advice. Save part of your paycheck, put it into retirement accounts, savings, bonds, index funds, and hope for decent returns. Pray for a 7 to 8%, work for 40 years, and then retire. And then maybe you could fund your post-life retirement, right? This plan did work once, a very long time ago. And here's what no one tells you. That system does not work the same anymore. For most people, it never really did. Now, while you're trying to save, you're working hard to save those dollars in your bank account, the rules of money are changing underneath you, right? It's happening every day. The tax that you don't see, the invisible tax. There is a tax that hits you every single day, every single month, every year. You never vote on it. You never see a bill for it. They call it inflation. I call it theft. Now, our grandparents could buy a coffee for pocket change. Today, that same coffee costs several dollars. And they call this normal. It's not. Since the early 70s, specifically post 1971, traditional currencies, especially the US dollar, has lost most of their purchasing power, over 95%, right? Australian currency has lost over 50% in the last 5 years. What does that mean? Housing costs exploded. Education becomes unaffordable. Healthcare, childcare, food, everything goes up. But your wages don't go up with the same speed. So what happens? More money gets created, prices rise, your savings lose value, and you're forced to work more just to stay in place. This is not an accident. This is exactly how the system was designed. This is exactly how the system works. Now, let's imagine something different. Money that cannot be printed at someone's will. Money that follows rules, not rulers. Something that follows code, math. It doesn't care who you are, or where you live, or where you're from. It is not controlled by a government, or a bank, or an entity, or an institution. It runs on code. It's called Bitcoin. It runs on math and energy, and that changes everything. But before Bitcoin, we must understand money. Before Bitcoin could make any sense, we need to really understand money itself. And one of the cleanest and clearest explanations ever given from Jack Mallers, the co-founder and CEO of Strike, money is time and energy abstracted. Every day, you trade your time for money. Your time, your energy, your effort, your focus. So money is simply how you store that effort and use it later. Now, if money fails at doing that, it is broken. Why did gold work? Gold wasn't valuable because it was shiny. It was valuable because it took work to get. You had to do a lot of work. You had to find it. Somebody had to locate it. You had to dig it up. Rocks had to be broken to find the gold that is mixed with the dust and the rocks. Then it had to be refined to get the pure form of gold. Then it had to be transported. Now, all of this took real time and real energy. Gold stored human effort and energy. But there was one flaw. As gold became more valuable, humans got better at finding and mining it. So more and more supply entered the system. It was infinite supply. Bitcoin fixes that. Bitcoin follows the same rule of time and energy, but with one massive improvement. Bitcoin's supply is fixed. 21 million forever. No exceptions. Now, whenever demand increases, supply does not. Completely opposite to gold's example. Now, instead, competition increases, and that makes Bitcoin the hardest money ever created. What that means is miners across the world have to compete with each other to mine the Bitcoin, and that is what makes it special. Bitcoin did not start with value. Bitcoin did not begin with a price. Early users exchanged it out of curiosity. Cypherpunks used it as collectibles. They were like, oh, wow, this is really cool. Something new. It's a digital asset, and it's scarce, and it's limited. It runs on code and math. Wow, let's mine some. You can actually mine it out of your $700 or $800 laptop every day, and you could get a Bitcoin. People used to get free Bitcoins for just solving CAPTCHA puzzles, playing some game online. Early users exchanged it out of curiosity, right? Its value was roughly the cost of electricity that was used to mine it. So if it's like 10 cents to a dollar, that's probably the cost of Bitcoin then. But what happened? Then came May of 2010. 2 pizzas. And we celebrate it today as the World Pizza Day. And I have a brain freeze here, but I think his name was Hansik or Laszlo Hansik. This gentleman traded 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, officially making it the world's most expensive pizza ever today. That moment made Bitcoin real. It proved value could move without permission, without banks, without borders. But the great question is, what is Bitcoin backed by? Now, as your currency, the dollars, Bitcoin is not backed by promises. It's not backed by government. It's actually backed by energy, math, open rules, open software, a global network enforcing them, call it nodes. That's what makes it different. Bitcoin contributor Hal Finney, one of the greatest contributors, once speculated that if Bitcoin succeeded as global money, each coin would be worth around $10 million. At that time, Bitcoin was worth almost nothing. But he didn't say that out of hype. It was math. Why this feels uncomfortable? Bitcoin actually challenges everything that we were taught, everything that we were made to believe. Because it asks one specific question. What if money did not need permission? So guys, Bitcoin is not about getting rich. It's about protecting your time, your energy, your future. You don't have to think in the aspect that, oh, I do not have the money to buy a whole Bitcoin, because you're thinking in terms of dollars, and that is why that thought is entering your head. So at this time of recording, a Bitcoin is somewhere around 96,000 US dollars. You can buy for $50, you can buy for $5, you can buy for 10, you can buy for 100, or whatever your appetite is. The point is you need to get off zero. Many years ago, you probably need thousands of Bitcoin to buy a median house of $700,000 to $800,000. A few years ago, it became 500. Today, you need 5. I'm talking about Australian dollars. So 5. 5 years later or 10 years later will be 0.1. 0.1 Bitcoin today costs around 9,600 US dollars. 10 years later, further down the line, it will be 0.01, which is today 960. And that is what you need to understand. You need to think in sats. Sats is the fractions of a Bitcoin. So one Bitcoin has 100 million sats, 100 million Satoshis. That's how the Bitcoin is broken into. You think about how many sats you can accumulate today. You want to accumulate for $1, you can do that. You want to accumulate for 100, you can do that. So stack sats. And remember, guys, anyone, including myself, if anyone's trying to help you or you're in some community, you will have some links. Anybody sends you a link, do not click on any links and connect your wallets to it. If you guys use some hot wallets, preferably store everything in hardware cold wallets, right, which are not connected to the internet. And anybody asks for your seed phrase, your passphrase, any sort of information, never ever give them anything. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, stack sats, build strength, protect your energy, and own your life. And if you like the content, please give a like and subscribe. It motivates me to make more episodes and bring genuine and expert people from the fitness and Bitcoin field. That's what this channel was created on. So till then, next time, take care, guys. See you soon.